Ashley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Saturday, January 11th. Okay, so we have the moon in Gemini energy here for the majority of the day. We are going to see the moon go void, of course, at 7:04 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're shifting into Cancer energy at 11:25 p.m., again, Eastern Standard Time, which, of course, is going to throw us into the full moon window. We will be having this full moon in Cancer here on the 13th. And, of course, the build up to that particular energy is definitely going to be an emotional one. The moon is in her rulership in Cancer. A full moon is a full illumination of hidden information, details that need to come to the surface so that we can reframe our mental plane, our emotions, and build ourselves up to a release, an elimination, letting go of something so that, again, we can focus on stabilizing our emotional foundation and our physical foundation as well. We'll be talking about the full moon in Cancer as it gets closer, but just know that towards the end of the day, we're going to be moving out of that curiosity, that outward stimulation that, of course, the moon in Gemini has us very attached to. And we're going to be withdrawing once we shift into that Cancer energy. It's very introverted. We're looking for kind of what is tried, tested, and true. We're looking for comfort. We're looking for familiarity. And we're going to be overly attached to the past, especially kind of gaining a little bit of nostalgia, if you will, reflection back on some of the things that, of course, we're still trying to sort through in our inner realm. And we're going to have a lot of options and opportunities to kind of reframe and restructure our inner realm, how we see things, how we feel about it, and how that is going to impact the actions that are definitely on the plate for us to take to really kind of improve and make some of the adjustments to, again, strengthen our inner realm before we go ahead and start mixing things around in our outer realm. So the big thing that we got going on here today is the nodes of the moon shifting out of this Aries and Libran axis and moving into the Pisces and Virgo axis. So again, I'm going to give you a rundown, the 2025 year ahead overview that I've put there publicly on my YouTube channel, on Spotify, on iTunes, on Patreon. It's everywhere. So you have access to that throughout the course of the year. If you haven't listened to that, I'm definitely going to recommend you do so. We have a major shift taking place here this year with a lot of the major heavy hitting planets, starting with the new karmic chapter that the collective is going to be shoved into, that us as individuals are going to be shoved into. And of course, we did a 2025 year ahead overview workshop over on my Patreon, where I teach you how to find this particular energy, these transits, this fluctuation in your own individual birth chart so that you understand where it's going to manifest in a particular area of your life. Even more than that, I just released a brand new Astro class, episode 1 for 2025 over on my Patreon as well. I'm working very hard to kind of get all of that content accessible from my website as well. It's not there yet. So right now you can either become a Patreon VIP and access all of my content there, or you can access it pay per view. Either way, it's an hour-long session in Astro class, not only talking about the depths of what this karmic chapter is going to be for us for the next 18 months, but again, sorting through birth charts, understanding how it can manifest, understanding what we have to lean into, what it is that we have to move away from, is definitely going to be a helpful tool, major asset of information, wisdom, and knowledge that you should be tapping into. So I'm definitely going to encourage you to do the work, to absolutely immerse yourself in all of the content that I am creating, because it is being created in order to keep you ahead of the game. So with all of that being said, there are 9 different aspects taking place here today. 8 of them are going to be involving the moon. The moon, while still in this Gemini energy, is going to make a not so nice interaction with Pluto, the great transformer, who of course is in Aquarius energy. So this is air on air action, but it's a dysfunctional interaction, which means that there's going to be a lot of confusion, a lot of delusion, a lot of pressure, a lot of anxiety taking place in the headspace. Instead of feeling empowered, feeling in control, feeling like we are bossing up, we're going to be picking ourselves apart. And in the greater, grander, big picture scheme of things, again, Aquarius energy, we're trying to kind of project ourselves into the desired outcome that we would actually like to manifest in order to see where it is that when we come back into the present moment, that there are some aspects in our physical realm right now that have to be removed and released in order for us to actually align with the desired outcome that we want to manifest. There is a lot of heavier thoughts and emotions that Pluto is going to illuminate to us through this intense interaction that aren't so good, that aren't so encouraging, aren't so loving, aren't so supportive, and essentially blocking our ability to manifest this desired outcome that we are wanting to actually manifest. So we do have to take a trip down the darker parts of memory lane, so to speak. We do have to kind of beat ourselves up and break ourselves down in order for us to see that we are choosing the wrong narrative, the wrong emotion, the wrong focus, if you will. And from that, we can flip the script, choose the better path for us, the more encouraging and supportive emotions and inner dialogue and inner narrative and focus and view in order for us to actually start building towards, again, the desired outcome that we 100% want to be living in. The moon then going to sextile, which is a beautiful interaction with Chiron, the wounded healer, who is now direct in Aries energy. This is going to help us out big time, especially coming out of that interaction with Pluto, because of course, Chiron being the wounded healer, he's being aspected in a positive way, which means that we are healing the wounds through the wisdom, the knowledge, the actions that we know that we have to take in order to take better care of thyself. We have the Gemini energy and the Aries energy, that's fire and air, which means that we're going to get a spark of an aha moment on where it is that we have to do better, where it is that we have to be better, where it is that we have to choose the more loving, nurturing, encouraging, supportive inner dialogue, inner narrative, and therefore different focus. We have to flip the script. We have to focus on what is working. We have to focus on our strengths. We have to focus on what we want to build towards. We have to orient to the positive side of things in order for us to, again, dig ourselves out of that darker pit that we fell in earlier on in the day. The moon is then going to make a very harsh interaction with the sun. So the sun, of course, is in Capricorn energy, in Earth sign. The moon in Gemini, in air sign. Earth and air do not get along. It's very hard to find compromise, very hard to meet in the middle. Even more than that, the sun in Capricorn, hella focused, tunnel vision on what needs to be done, what we want to build, what we want to create, where we want to end up, and the flip-floppiness being on the fence, debating the pros and cons, the highs, the lows, the everything in between that this Gemini energy has us doing, not a great match for that Capricorn energy. But anytime that the sun and the moon are coming together, there's going to be an aha moment. There's going to be a new level of awareness of what we want, what we need, what we desire, and what we actually have to do to get it. And so this is going to manifest through tension, through conflict, because it's not a nice interaction, but we're gaining clarity. And therefore, although we may not be receiving the information that we want or the clarity in the way that we were hoping for, it is going to provide us information to help us lean over one path, one decision, one choice point, one direction over the other. The moon is then going to make a positive interaction with Uranus. Uranus being the great awakener, he is retrograde in this Taurus energy. He's trying to highlight for us where it is that we're overly attached to people, places, and things here in the physical realm that the old version of self had built in the old world that now we are looking to deconstruct, to dissolve, to basically put behind us so that the new version of self, resonating with a new goal, vision, and dream, can start building towards, again, a desired outcome. Now, this is going to bode very well well for us because Uranus is being aspected in a positive way, which means that there's going to be a bolt of lightning, a jolt of lightning coming into the highest form of our mental plane, giving us a spontaneous view, a spontaneous perspective on where it is that, again, we are our own worst enemies. We're blocking our own damn selves, and where it is that, again, reframing our thoughts, our perspective, and therefore our emotions going to help us let go, release some of these earthly attachments that, of course, are blocking up the path, blocking up the progress. This is going to be a major shift in our mood, in our attitude, helping us to orient to the more positive side of our brain, of our emotions, and therefore seeing things in a much better light. The moon is then going to make a very positive interaction with Pluto. So we get a little bit of a second go. We didn't start the day off so well with the moon and Pluto. However, they're on the same page. Well, they're trying to get on the same page. We are dealing with air, so there is going to be a major shift in our mental plane, in our perspective, in the inner workings of the plan, of the strategy that we're trying to piece together. This is going to be a time where, again, we do feel empowered. We are bossing ourselves up. We do see where we have the power and control over certain situations and circumstances in our physical realm in this present moment that, again, probably early in the day, we weren't feeling so hot about. Now, this is definitely going to be an intensity in our headspace, in our heart space, pushing us to kind of do what needs to be done to orient to the most positive, the most encouraging, the most supportive inner dialogue and, of course, emotions in order for us to get shit done and, of course, lean towards one path, one direction, one choice point over the other that will help us reach or at least get in alignment with the desired outcome that we very much want to manifest. The moon is then going to get into the boxing ring, square off with Neptune. Neptune, of course, in his rulership in this Pisces energy, highly indicative that the moon is about to go void of course. Why? Because Neptune in this Pisces energy is at the latter degrees, which means that when the moon gets to the late degrees of this Gemini energy and the square takes place, and again, side note, the square is taking place because we're dealing with mutable signs, it creates tension and conflict to highlight for us where we're going through growing pains. Now, Neptune in this Pisces energy is very dreamy, very creative, very attached to our soul self, to our intuition, but also a little bit connected to Delulu land. Now, at this particular juncture, we have this square popping off because Gemini energy would prefer to stay in actual, factual, let's call it information, evidence, and data. Meaning, Gemini energy very connected to the ego programming where we're highly dependent on taking a good look at our lives, at our situations, at our circumstances, the information, the details provided to us because of that, and using that as a tool, if you will, to kind of dictate what is possible for us or what isn't. On the flip side, Neptune and Pisces energy doesn't care about this physical realm, doesn't care about the situations and circumstances that we're in. If we can dream it, we can achieve it. If we can align with the vision, we can actually start manifesting it, even if it's out of the realm of reality that we're currently sitting in. And so here we have the battle royale between our intellect and our intuition. The pull, the calling of using our brain, or the pull or the calling of trusting our gut, trusting our soul space. This is the point in time, 7:04 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, that the moon is going to go void of course. While the moon is still in this Gemini energy, but now void, which of course makes things shaky and uncertain and really puts us in a second guessing type of energy, the moon is actually going to be making a positive interaction with Mars. Mars is the god of war. He rules over the physical energy, the drive, the passion, the desire, even our anger. He is retrograde, meaning he's reflective, he's reassessing, he's reanalyzing. He's not taking any physical action out in the external realm unless emotionally or intuitively speaking, it's in a defense type of position, meaning we're willing to take action to fight, defend, protect what it is that we've already built and created, what matters most to us, where our priorities are at, our values are at. But at this particular particular juncture, because there's not a whole lot of moves to be making out in the external world to blaze a new path forward, we're still in a closure and an elimination chapter. And so because this is a positive interaction, this is actually working in our favor to kind of help us hone in, get focused on what the goal actually is, what needs to be done in order to provide us with a lot more safety, security, stability, not only in our emotional realm, but in our physical realm as well. Mars is focused. He's motivated. He's hell-bent, damn well and determined to kind of, again, defend, protect what it is that he's built and created, but also do what needs to be done in order to stabilize his inner realm before we go ahead, start adding to the external realm, creating a lot of craziness, a lot of chaos that comes with those particular adjustments. 8:09 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the nodes of the moon shifting out of the Aries and Libran axis that we've been in for the last 18 months and into the Pisces and Virgo axis that we will be in for the next 18 months. This is an 18-year chapter that is coming to an end and a close as we set the tone for new beginnings. We are all going through this tough love life lesson. I encourage you to tap into all the resources that I rattled off at the beginning of this forecast so that you can stay ahead of the game. The moon, while still void, of course, in this Gemini energy, is going to get into the boxing ring immediately and square off with the nodes of the moon. Why? Well, because Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sagittarius, they're all mutable signs. That means that emotionally, mentally speaking, we're in this void. Things are shaky, things are uncertain, things are unstable. And then the nodal shift is putting us in a situation where there is a major adjustment to the energies that are needed. And so again, square is highlighting tension and conflict where we're going through a growing pain. The North Node, now in Pisces energy, is again the battle royale. Do we trust our intellect, the information, the details that we're plucking out of our materialistic realm to dictate what is possible for us? Or are we tapping into our intuition, to our spirituality, to a higher calling, to a dream, to a goal, to a vision that kind of lays outside of the boundaries of our materialistic realm, that if we get our mind right, if we get our heart right, if we get in alignment with what needs to be done, that we can actually manifest this vision, this goal, this dream out of essentially quote unquote nothing. But we have a hard time, our brain has a hard time believing that that is possible. The Pisces energy about to throw us into an 18-month karmic tough love life lesson where we're going to have to learn to believe in something higher, learn to believe in something a little bit more divine, to override the materialistic imprisonment that we've created due to our mental plane being limited in seeing the forest past the trees, so to speak. That South Node in Virgo energy, of course, is what we have to be breaking away from. And the Virgo and Gemini energy have a common ruler, which is Mercury. Mercury is currently in Capricorn energy, tunnel vision and focus on what needs to be done to dissolve the old world that old vision had created, that this new version of self has a new vision that we want to create, but the junk and the gunk of the old world is kind of, creating a mess for us to clean up. We have to clear the space, clean the slate before we're going to be able to manifest this goal, vision, and dream of this higher realm version of self. So we are definitely going to feel the tension, the conflict going on, not only between our heart and our head, Moon and Gemini, but between our intellect and our intuition. And even more than that, now the tension is going to be between the Pisces energy, where we have to walk in trust, in faith, surrendering to not needing to know all of the answers before we take one step forward, versus that Virgo energy that wants us all up in the headspace, wants us analyzing things all to death, planning for every freaking move that isn't going to happen in the way that we imagine it. And therefore, we have to learn how to shut that intellectual brain down that is orienting to fears, doubts, and insecurities and limitations due to the egoic programming, and lean all the way in to trusting our gut, trusting our intuition, trusting the universe, and the greater, grander plan. This is at 11:22 p.m. that we enter into the square, and at 11:25 p.m. the moon shifts in Cancer energy. You best believe there is going to be a roller coaster of emotions later on here in the day. We definitely want to stay ahead of the game. We want to understand that everything is going to be kind of exaggerated and exasperated in our inner realms, not only because of the nodal shift taking place, but because that's also taking place as we get thrown into the moon being in her rulership in this Cancer energy.